Hello students, welcome back to our channel. Students, in this video we are going to study a very important topic from class 11th physics chapter heat and thermodynamics, and this topic is Carnot engine. Carnot engine is a very important topic in class 11th physics. Let's start. What is a Carnot engine? A Carnot engine is simply a heat engine. A heat engine is a machine which takes input as heat energy and converts that input into output mechanical work. For example, the train's engine is a heat engine because it takes input as the heat energy of steam and converts that energy into the useful mechanical work which is used to rotate the wheels of the train, and hence train moves forward. So what is a heat engine? Carnot engine is a heat engine, but what is a heat engine? So first we will discuss the basic structure of a heat engine, and then only we will be able to understand what is a Carnot engine. So heat engine is basically composed of three parts. First part is called source, second part is the working substance, and the third part is called sink. Working substance extracts some heat from the source. Suppose the working substance extracts heat Q1 from the source. Source is something from which heat can be extracted. For example, in case of train's engine, this source is the furnace from which that steam is taking heat. A furnace in which the coal is being burnt, or in recent times we can say diesel is being burnt. That furnace is the source, right? And from the source, steam is extracting a heat Q1, and using this heat, this engine, this working substance is doing some work W, and some heat is rejected into the sink which is not used in doing the work. So what is the relation between W, Q1 and Q2? Suppose the heat extracted was 100 joule and work done was 80 joule. Then obviously 100 minus 80, 20 joule heat will be rejected, right? So W is simply Q1 minus Q2, right? So this Q1 heat is extracted from the source, and using this heat some work is done, and the extra heat which is not used in doing this work is rejected into something which is called sink. For example, in case of engine, this sink is the surroundings, right? So this source is maintained at a temperature T1 and this sink is maintained at a temperature, suppose, T2. And what is the efficiency of the engine? Efficiency of the engine is simply the total work done divided by the heat absorbed. The total useful work done was W and the heat absorbed was Q1. So the efficiency of this engine, heat engine, is W by Q1. This W by Q1 will give you the value of efficiency in fractions. If you want to convert that efficiency into percentage efficiency, you have to multiply it by 100. For example, if it comes out to be 0.8, then the efficiency of the engine will be 80% because 0.8 into 100 is 80, right? Okay, now let's come to Carnot engine. This is the design of the Carnot engine. Carnot engine is basically a heat engine, but it is a theoretical engine. It cannot be constructed practically. So why this theoretical engine is important? Because it gives the design of an engine whose efficiency is maximum, right? So to make the most efficient engine, we have to keep this design in mind. So it is made up of, these are the parts of the Carnot engine. It is made up of, obviously like other heat engines, it is made up of source. Source is something from which the heat will be extracted, and second, reservoir is sink, from to which the heat will be rejected. The heat which is not used in doing the work, that will be rejected into the sink. So this is the source, this is the sink. There is an insulating stand. We will discuss the working and then we'll get to know what is the reason behind using this insulating stand in Carnot engine. And this is a cylinder, and in this cylinder a frictionless piston is attached which can easily move up and down, and the working substance of in Carnot engine is an ideal gas, right? Working substance in Carnot engine is an ideal gas. So there are many assumptions. You can clearly see there are many assumptions in this Carnot engine which are not possible practically. For example, Carnot says that this engine should have a working substance which is an ideal gas, but in practice no gas is perfectly ideal, right? So this cannot be achieved. Again, it says that the piston of this cylinder should be frictionless, and no material, no piston in any case practically can be frictionless, right? It says that the walls of this cylinder should be made up of a perfectly adiabatic material. These walls should be perfectly adiabatic. What are adiabatic walls? Adiabatic walls are something which do not allow any heat to pass through them. Any heat, not a fraction of heat, right? So there is no material which does not allow any heat to pass through it. Some heat will be passed through that particular material. So to make perfectly adiabatic walls, we cannot find any material practically. And again it says that the base of this cylinder should be perfectly conducting. Perfectly conducting means heat freely flows through this base into the gas and out of the gas, and no material in the universe is perfectly conducting. By universe means the universe that we know, not the entire universe. Okay, it says that the source and sink both should have infinite thermal capacities, and by infinite thermal capacity it means that any amount of heat can be extracted from the source and any amount of heat can be rejected into the sink. Their temperatures will not change. That is practically not possible. So there are many assumptions in Carnot engine which makes it impossible to construct this engine practically, but it is very important in theoretical terms, because by studying this engine we get to know what are the factors on which the efficiency of an engine depends and what should we do practically to increase the efficiency. For example, you have 10 options of gases and you have to make one of those gas as the working substance of an engine. So how will you select the gas? You will select that gas which is as close as to the ideal behavior, because Carnot engine says if you use an ideal gas then the efficiency will be maximum, but no gas is ideal. So out of those 10 gases you will choose that gas which is ideal than other gases, right? Okay, so Carnot engine works in 4 steps. First step, we will discuss this graph also. First step is called the isothermal expansion. Let's say again as we have taken in heat engine, the temperature of the source is T1 and the temperature of the sink is T2. First stage is the isothermal compression. Isothermal process means a process in which the temperature of the system remains constant. So in isothermal, not compression, it is expansion. First step is isothermal expansion. So what we are going to do in this step, this is the first step in one cycle of the Carnot engine. Now we will keep this cylinder on this source, right? We are not going to do this practically. This is just a prototype. So just try to understand. We suppose we are putting this cylinder on the source. Since the base is perfectly conducting, so any amount of heat can be extracted from the source. So if you put this cylinder on the source, then some heat starts coming into the cylinder. But due to that heat, the temperature of the gas is not increasing because the whole part of the heat is being used by this gas in expansion. So if the gas is using the entire heat in expansion, the temperature of the gas is not going to change. This is what something happening in first case. That's why it is called the isothermal expansion, because temperature is not changing. Since there is a thermal equilibrium between the gas and the source, so the temperature of the ideal gas will also be T1. So let this gas expand as much as it can, and in this case the work done, suppose W1 is equal to what What is the formula for work done in isothermal expansion? Okay, what we are going to do, what we are doing here, we are trying to understand the working of the Carnot engine, and using that we are deriving a very important expression for the efficiency of Carnot engine. So what is the work done in isothermal expansion? In isothermal expansion, work done by the gas is given as 2.303 nRT log V2 divided by V1. 2.303 nRT. N is the number of moles of the gas. Suppose number of moles of this gas are N. R is the universal gas constant and T1 is the temperature. What was the temperature in this case? It was T1. So T is the constant temperature at which this work is being done, log V2 by V1. Since the gas is expanding, the initial volume is not equal to the final volume. So V2 is the final volume when the process ends and V1 is the initial volume. So this whole thing is being shown in this graph, PV graph. We are starting from this state A when the volume of the gas was V1 and the pressure was P1, and now the volume is increasing in this case. So this gas comes to state B when the volume becomes V2 and the pressure becomes P2, right? And during this it has absorbed a heat Q1, and since whole of that heat is used in doing the work, so this W1 should be equal to Q1, right? So this was step 1. Now second step is adiabatic expansion. Second step is the adiabatic expansion. What is adiabatic process? An adiabatic process is that in which there is no exchange of heat between the system and surroundings. Now what we will do, we will put this cylinder on the insulating stand. Since walls are adiabatic and base was conducting, but after putting this cylinder on the insulating stand, even heat cannot go out through the base also, right? So in this case, now there will be no exchange of heat. We will let the gas expand on its own. So in that case, work will be done by the gas. In first case, work was done on the gas because it was extracting heat from outside. So that heat is doing the work. But in the second case, when this cylinder is on insulating stand, so no heat is going into the system or no heat is going out of the system. So if now the gas expands using the heat it has stored in the first case. So in second case, it is the work done by the system, and this expansion will be called adiabatic expansion because there is no gain or loss of heat. So in the second case, when we put this cylinder on the insulating stand, gas expands without gaining any heat from the surrounding, and due to this the temperature of the gas decreases. Suppose the temperature of the gas decreases to this value T2, which is the temperature of the sink. So we can say then the work done in second step is NR. What is the work done in adiabatic process? N into R, final temperature minus initial temperature divided by 1 minus gamma. You all must be knowing about the gamma, which is the ratio of Cp by Cv for a gas. Cp is the molar heat capacity at constant pressure and Cv is the molar heat capacity at constant volume. Okay, now let's come to the third step. Third step is isothermal compression. Third step is isothermal compression. Third step is isothermal compression. Now what we are going to do, we will put this cylinder on the sink, right? We will put this cylinder on the sink and we compress this cylinder slowly. Always remember that all the isothermal processes are always slow, because if you suddenly compress a gas or suddenly expand a gas, then the temperature of the gas is going to change. If you suddenly compress a gas, then the temperature of the gas will increase. And if the gas is allowed to expand suddenly, then the temperature of the gas will decrease. So all the isothermal processes, the processes in which the temperature is not changing, they must be done slowly. So in third case, we will put this cylinder on the sink and we will slowly compress the piston of this cylinder, and during each compression the amount of heat which is produced is being rejected into the sink because the base of this cylinder is conducting, right? So the process remains isothermal. Now in first case the temperature was T1, in second case temperature did not change, and in third case now we are changing the temperature till the temperature of the gas becomes T2. So the work done in this case W3, the work done in this case W3 is 2.303 nRT2. Sorry, the temperature of this has already been changed in step 2. Now we are just compressing this gas, and due to that compression the heat produced in each step is being rejected into the sink, so the temperature of the system will not change, obviously, because it is an isothermal process. So in this isothermal process temperature throughout remains T2 and the final volume is what? Now let's come back again to this graph. The second process, adiabatic expansion, has this curve B to C when the volume changes from V2 to V3 and pressure changes from P2 to P3. Now third case is the compression, so the volume is going to decrease. So this is the third case, C to D, right? The graph of the third case is this, C to D, when the volume is changing from V3 to V4 and pressure is changing from P3 to P4. So final volume is V4, final volume is V4 and initial volume is V3. Fourth step is what? It is adiabatic compression. Fourth step is what? Fourth step is adiabatic compression. Now we will again put this cylinder on the insulating stand and we will compress the piston, and due to that compression heat will be produced in this gas, but that heat cannot leave the cylinder because walls are adiabatic and the base is insulating. So there is no chance of that heat to leave this cylinder, and that heat remains trapped inside this cylinder, due to which the temperature will increase. In first step temperature was T1, in second step temperature changed to T2, in third step temperature remains T2, and in fourth step we are now again increasing the temperature to T2, because in fourth step when you will compress the gas then the temperature will increase, and again we are going to increase the temperature again from T2 to T1, such that this process becomes cyclic. A cyclic process is a process which again comes back to the same state from which it started. This process started from this state A. Now the fourth step is D2 again back to A, when the volume again changes and comes back to V1. Volume changes from V4 to V1 and the pressure changes from P4 to P1 and the temperature changes from T2 to T1. So what will be the work done in this case? This is an adiabatic process, so work done is final temperature is now T1, initial temperature was T2 divided by 1 minus gamma. Clear? Okay. So we have to find the efficiency of this engine. What was the formula for efficiency? Formula for efficiency was W by Q1. W is the net work done. There are many steps in the working of a cylinder and in the working of an heat engine, and in that case if you want to find efficiency, this W is the net work done in all those processes. Now the net work done, there are 4 processes. So the net work done, W net, is what? It is W1 plus W2 plus W3 plus W4. Okay, we can clearly see that W2 and W4 are equal but in having opposite sign. This is T2 minus T1, rest everything is same. In W2 and W4, this is T2 minus T1, but that one is T1 minus T2. So if we will add these two, W2 and W4 will get cancelled out. So net work done is simply W1, which is 2.303 nr T1 log V2 divided by V1 plus W4 2.303 nr T2 log V4 by V3. Therefore, efficiency, which was W net divided by what? Q1. So if you add these two, let's take 2.303 common, N is also common, R is also common. Here T1 is left and log V2 by V1 plus T2 log V2 V4 by V3 divided by Q1. And what was the value of Q1? What was the value of Q1? Q1 was equal to W1. So we will just put in place of Q1, we are going to put W1. In place of Q1, let's put W1, which is this, right? So it is 2.303 nr T1 log V2 divided by V1. So this will get cancelled out, this N also, R also. So if you take this, let's write it here. This T1 log V2 by V1 can be divided with this and with this also. So the efficiency becomes this divided by this, which is 1, plus this divided by this, which is T2 by T1 log V4 by V3 divided by log V2 by V1. Okay, so this is the formula for efficiency, but there is much simpler form. First process was what? First process was isothermal. So what is the equation of state for isothermal? Equation of state for isothermal is P1 V1 equal to P2 V2. Second process was adiabatic. What is the equation of state for an adiabatic process? It is PV raised to power gamma equal to constant. So the volume was changed from V2 to V3 and pressure P2 to P3. So it is P2 V2 raised to power gamma equal to P3 V3 raised to power gamma. Third process was isothermal. So we can write P3 V3 equal to P4 V4, and the fourth process was adiabatic. So we can write P4 V4 raised to power gamma equal to P1 V1 raised to power gamma. Okay. Now if we multiply all this, we get P1, P2, P3, P4 into V2, V3 and this was this was V1. So V1 V3, V1 V3, V2 V4, V2 V4 raised to power gamma equal to P1 P2 P3 P4 V2 V4 into V1 V3 raised to power gamma. Now P1, P2, P3, P4 all get cancelled out and write it like this: V1 V3, and if you bring this V1 V3 on this side, then base is same, power of V1 V3 is 1 here and gamma here, so it becomes V1 V3 raised to power 1 minus gamma equal to, now take this on the right hand side and it becomes V2 V4, power of V2 V4 is 1 and here it is gamma, so 1 minus gamma. Both the sides have same exponent, so we can write V1 V3 is equal to V2 V4, which says V2 by V1 is simply V3 by V4, right? V2 by V1 is simply V3 by V4. Okay, there is a property of log. There is a property of log which says log A by B is log A. You all must be knowing about this property, log A minus log B. So if we have log 1 by A, it can be written as log 1 minus log A, right? It can be written as like this, and since log 1 is 0, so we can write log 1 upon A as minus log A. So it is clear that we can take the reciprocal of this number which is with log, and if we take the reciprocal of this number, we have to multiply this with minus 1. Okay, so what was the formula of efficiency that is written on the previous slide? This 1 plus T2 by T1, 1 plus T2 by T1, 1 plus T2 by T1 log, okay, write this log V4 by V3 as V3 by V4, and then we have to multiply a minus sign here, so it becomes 1 minus T2 by T1, 1 minus T2 by T1 log V3 by V4, log V3 by V4 divided by log V2 by V1, and since V3 by V4 is equal to V2 by V1, so both of these are equal, so we can cancel them, and now we are left with efficiency is 1 minus T2 by T1. Efficiency is 1 minus T2 by T1. So this is the formula for efficiency of a Carnot engine. Efficiency is 1 minus T2, which is the temperature of the sink, divided by the temperature of the source. And since efficiency was what? It was W by Q1, right? Efficiency was W by Q1. So W was what? W was Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1. So it is Q1 by Q1 is 1 minus Q2 by Q1. So this is the efficiency. This was the efficiency of the Carnot engine or any heat engine. So from these two formulae in yellow boxes, this one and that one, we can say that Q2 by Q1 is equal to T2 by T1. Q2 by Q1 equal to T2 by T1. So this is everything that you are supposed to prepare in Carnot engine. The most important part is the derivation of the efficiency of the Carnot engine, in which you have to arrive at this formula, right? So prepare it carefully. I will meet you in the next lecture. Till then, all the very best.